Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, happy Thursday. I'm so excited to chat with you today on the podcast. First of all, happy August. How are we here? How is it August 1st already? That just seems surreal that this summer has flown by. Shout out to my Summer Ready Success ladies and all of you that have been working through the Summer Ready Success Guide and participated in that workshop. I would love for you to send me a DM or send me an email and let me know how your summer plans went, how your summer goals, what goals were met, what worked, what didn't work. I just want to hear all the things about your summer ready success. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a full circle moment for me. And also we're going to talk about this word ready. So we have a lot of great Turquoise Talk guests lined up for you this month, and I can't wait for you to meet all of them. But I want to start out with just asking you the question, have you ever said, I don't feel ready. I don't feel ready to get married. I don't feel ready to become a responsible parent of another human being and raising them. Did you feel ready to become a mom? I know I didn't. Or I don't feel ready to try this new business idea, or I don't feel ready to go and pursue maybe some new fitness goals or to walk into the gym for the first time. I think if you're honest, you've used that phrase before. I know I have. And before I dive into this word and just a mindset shift that I want you to have around it, I want to share with you this full circle moment that I just had 2 weeks ago. So if you've been on this or been following the podcast from the very beginning, then you know I transitioned out of a 16-year career with a company called 31 Gifts. And it still is an amazing company, amazing products, amazing culture. And it's how I became an entrepreneur. I mean, it really was the opportunity that taught me business, that taught me coaching, that taught me entrepreneurship, that taught me sales, that taught me, all the things. And I was very successful with that business for 16 years. And then it didn't make sense and I didn't see it coming, but, I felt called out by God to pursue coaching full time and to pursue speaking. And like I say, if you're new here, that was the biggest leap of faith that I've ever made professionally. And it didn't make sense on paper. And it was leaving a lot of security financially. And it just still blows my mind, honestly, that I was called to do that and that I did it. And so what was really important to me in that transition was to hold true to who I was, to my integrity, to hold those relationships, keep those relationships whole, because it wasn't a decision that was made because I was angry at the company or they were doing anything wrong. It literally was God saying, "You're done there. I have another assignment for you." And as a woman of faith, I couldn't ignore that. And I actually did for way longer than I would like to admit. I wrestled with him for a very long time about that, because did I feel ready to walk away from a very secure, comfortable, familiar environment that I was in for 16 years into the unknown? 100% no. But God, my two favorite words, got me through that, walked me through that. And again, it was very important to me that I held those relationships and that legacy, that I held on to that, and that it was still, and it still is, a very important part of my story as a mompreneur. And so shortly after I transitioned out of that, and again, not knowing exactly where I was going to go and what my next chapter was. I just knew that it wasn't there. And I felt like it was going to be in coaching and in speaking. And so because I did leave that company with the highest level of integrity that I knew how to do at that time, and I held those relationships together, I was out shopping one day and I came across these shoes. And if you don't know me, like I love shoes. And they were like super sparkly. They're Betsy Johnson's, which I really didn't. I'm not really a big brand person, but I just know Betsy Johnson's because not only were they sparkly, they have turquoise bottoms. And so that was really the draw. The very first pair that I bought was for a wedding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they have turquoise bottoms. Like I have to have these shoes. So anyway, I was shopping and I just came across these boots that had these sparkly. If you follow me on social media, you probably see me post about them. But I bought those shoes with the intention and the belief that one day I would be speaking on stage at a 31 national conference. And I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but I believed that it would happen. And there were opportunities that I felt like it could have happened and then it didn't. But I just kept believing, honestly, that it would happen one day. And so I got the phone call from my dear friend, Cindy Monroe at 31, founder of 31, CEO, amazing, amazing woman. I've had her here on the podcast. And she called and asked me to come and speak at this year's Impact. And so I was like, oh my gosh, of course I was super excited. I bought these shoes 2 years earlier with the belief that opportunity, that phone call would happen one day. And I was super excited about this opportunity. And then when I was speaking to those who were planning the event, I saw where I was going to be speaking. And when I tell you it was a full circle moment, it was a full circle moment because back in 2010, I grew my business very, very rapid, very successful, became, one of the top leaders. And so they asked me to come and speak at their national conference. And the first time they asked me, I said no, because I didn't feel ready. And so I denied that opportunity. It wasn't really a proud moment of mine, but I just did not feel ready. I'm like, there's no way I can get up and speak in front of people because at that time, I had a real fear of speaking in front of others, like even 10 people to get up and talk about my product was just all kinds of nervousness. And so I turned it down. And then in 2010, they asked me again. And this time I decided to be ready. And I decided to work through the fears and work through all of the nervous jitters and everything and prepare my content and get it ready. And when I arrived at the venue where we were having our national conference, I wanted to see where I was going to be speaking. And so I walked into this room. It was a huge room and saw the big stage and immediately wanted to just be sick because I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to speak on this big stage in this big room in front of all of these people. It was my first big stage speaking opportunity. And I remember having to call my coach because, again, all of the imposter syndrome started creeping in, like, you don't deserve this. There's way more people in the audience listening that are, more business savvy, better, well-spoken, like better trainers, like all the things I was saying to myself. And my coach said, if you're nervous, Martine, you're focused on the wrong person. And that was a huge mindset shift for me because as a person who loves to help and serve and empower and encourage, I knew that I could do that. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so if I took the focus off of me and put it on them, it allowed me to walk onto that stage and share what I came to share. So then fast forward to this year when I was invited and that training went great. I had so many people that came up to me afterwards and said, oh my gosh, I needed to hear what you had to say. I had several people that, just had their own aha moment with seeing me who I wouldn't say I was shy, but I definitely wasn't like this huge outspoken person. Like I chose my moments to speak. And when I did, I spoke in conversations, but I don't think anybody saw me as like this big stage speaker. I didn't even see myself as that. But that was my first big stage moment. And I'm so thankful that I decided to be ready and pushed past the nerves and the fear and the imposter syndrome and all of those things. Because from that moment, on, I had many other opportunities to speak, like in arenas of 10,000 leaders and consultants. And so fast forward to this year, and when, Cindy asked me to speak, and then I was with the planning events planners, and we were going through everything, and I saw the room that I was going to be speaking in. Y'all can't make this stuff up. It was the exact same room that I had that first big stage moment. And I just was blown away by that, because not only was it a full circle moment to be invited back into the company that like grew me as an entrepreneur for 16 years, and to walk away and to have wanted to leave with such integrity and relationships intact. And I was able to do that. And then to be invited back in to speak to the field was full circle. And then when I saw it was in the same room, I was like, oh my gosh, like how is this happening? And so I did go. This was 2 weeks ago. I was able to walk onto that stage. I was able to share that story too, because it's a super powerful story. And for those of you that are listening, it's a powerful story of deciding to be ready. And what I shared with them on the stage, like the main point that I was sharing with them, is that being ready isn't a feeling you feel, it's a decision that you make. Being ready isn't a feeling that you feel. I didn't feel ready to walk on that stage the first time in 2010. And honestly, walking on the stage, even, however many years, 14 years later, like I still, kind of had some of those imposter syndrome. Like literally the moment before I walked on the stage, my mind went completely blank. I couldn't remember the first thing I was supposed to say. And so it's real. The nerves are still real. But I decided again to get ready and to stay ready, even down to buying those shoes 2 years prior, because being ready isn't a feeling you feel, it's a decision that you make. And I want you to think about that when you think about maybe some of the goals that you have, or some ideas that you have, or some changes that you're wanting to do this year. You may not feel ready to make those changes. You may not feel ready to have that hard conversation. You may not feel ready to take that next step to up level your business, but you can decide to be ready, and you can decide to get ready. It's a decision that you make. And so I talked with them about 5 essential decisions to make with that in mind. And so I thought I would just share some of those with you today. I'm not going to go into the full, speech that I gave, but the first decision for you to make is to believe and commit to action. You have to believe. I believed 2 years prior that I was going to be standing on that stage. I didn't know it was going to be the actual stage that I first became a speaker, 14 years prior, but I believed that moment was going to happen. And so all of this time, not that I've been writing my content for 2 years, but all this time I have been believing that opportunity would open up. I believed that there would be other opportunities that would open up. And I committed to the actions to be ready and to stay ready for when that opportunity presented itself. And so I was able to walk into this opportunity still with nervousness, still with, preparation and things that I needed to do. But I believed that I was going to be there, and I believed and committed to the actions to prepare myself for that. So what do you need to decide to believe and commit to today? What do you believe about your success today? What do you believe about opportunities that are coming your way today? You have to check your thoughts first. And you've heard me talk about my Triple C belief breakthrough method many times here and in different workshops. And if you haven't, I'm going to share a little bit with you today. But basically, the triple C's are: you can catch your thoughts, check your thoughts, and change your thoughts. Those are the 3 C's: catch, check, and change. You must do this to help you with your thought life, to help you with the belief, to help you to decide to be ready instead of waiting for the feeling to happen. So catch your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking about right now as I'm speaking to you about being ready? Check it. Is it a helpful thought? Is it a truthful, factual thought? Or is it just a feeling? And then change it. If it's not helping you get closer to where you want to go, it's probably keeping you back. It's our mindsets, not our skill sets, that hold us back. So what are your thoughts? The second decision is to decide what and why. Like, what are the things that you want to focus on, that you want to get ready and stay ready for? And why? Why are they important to you? That's your motor. Your motive is your motor. You've heard me say that before. But you've got to decide what you want. This is a big piece of the work that I do with my one-on-one clients. Number one, we check your thoughts, because you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. But then you have to decide what you want, not what your peer or your business bestie is doing or what you see other mompreneurs doing. Like, what do you want? And why is that important to you? You have to make that decision. Yes, you can get help and input, and that's where a coach really helps you to get clear on that, because so many of us build our lives around the expectations of others or what we see other people doing, that we don't even trust ourselves to make the decision. And one of the things that I talked about in the keynote was, so many of us waste so much time trying to make the right decision versus making a decision and then doing the work to make it right. What do I mean by that? It is way better for you to be moving and failing than to be stuck. If you're moving and you're failing, then you are learning, and you're learning what's working and you're learning what's not working. But if you are living in the land of indecision, you're stuck. You're not going forward, and you're just sitting still. And I don't know anyone that feels good about just sitting still. I mean, being still and knowing I am God, like, that's not what I'm talking about here. We all need those be still moments. But when you know there's a place you want to go, but you are so afraid of making the wrong decision that you make no decision, and you're straddling that fence and you're living in the land of indecision, like, that's the number one thing that I help my clients do, is to make a decision. And then you do the work to make it the right decision. And you're either going to get the result that you want, or you're going to get the lesson you need. That's a belief. That's a mindset that I choose every single time I'm trying something new. Challenges are being presented to me. I don't take failure as I'm a failure. I take failure as an opportunity to learn what worked and what didn't work, right? So same thing for you. So you got to decide to believe and to commit to the action. You got to decide what and why. Like, dig deep on the why. It's usually not your first answer. And I actually have a free resource on this. I think if you go to martinewilliams.com/guide, we'll put this in the show notes for you. It'll help you work through discovering your why, because that's a really important piece. Hey friend, can I give you permission today? Like, for real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise. Mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me, where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify, what are the 3 main issues that are keeping you stuck? Number 2, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number 3, identifying, what are your next steps? We all have a next step, and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you, and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call. The third decision for you to make, the essential decision, is all around deciding how and when. Like, now now you're believing and you're committing to action. You've decided the what and the why. Now, like, how are you going to see that goal come to fruition? And when is the right season? Like, so many times, especially all my overachievers, high achieving, ambitious women out there, we think we can do all things at all the same time. And while you can do a lot of things, you can't do everything. And so timing is important. Like, how are you going to do it? But then, and that goes in alignment with your strengths, how you grow your business, or how you improve your relationships, or how you improve your health, can be as unique to you as your fingerprint. because you are unique and you have unique strengths. And you've heard me talk about the pro scan and how we just have to know what our strengths of our personality are so that we can optimize them to have the best results, right? There are things about my personality, like my personality, I'm high in my extroversion. And so I build my business based on relationships. Yes, I have strategy and yes, I have systems and things like that. But my primary way of growing my business is by building relationships with people. And so that's my how, right? That's my winning strategy for me. What is your winning strategy? And if you're trying to use someone else's strategy that has a completely different personality, strength of personality, like their natural strengths, and you're trying to use theirs and they're not yours, you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to be highly, highly frustrated. So in this decision, you're deciding how, and you can decide how by knowing what your strengths of your personality are, which is why that's the foundation of all of my coaching is starting with the Pro Scan. The Pro Scan, for those of you who have not heard me talk about it, is a personality and performance survey. It's like 96% accurate. It's a scientific, globally recognized survey. It'll blow your mind when you take this. So if this is interesting to you, then I definitely want to encourage you to sign up for a free clarity call with me so we can kind of go through this and discuss this with you, because that is a game changer. Knowing yourself and knowing what's your how are you going to do it? And then when is the right time for you? If you have multiple things going on right now, it might not be the best time to implement something new, and that's okay. The fourth decision is decide who can help you. There literally is no journey of growth that's traveled alone. And when you see other people doing the things and accomplishing things, it inspires us, right? And when you bring someone on the journey with you who can support you, you can go further faster because you have support. You should not be trying to do entrepreneurship alone. Solopreneurship is not something I recommend. I actually highly recommend against it. So who's in your circle? Who are your people that support you? Who can go with you where you're going next? And not everyone can. And you've heard me say that before on the podcast too. Not everyone can go where you're going next. Okay. Some people have a problem for every solution. Those people don't need to be in your boat. They don't need to be in your car. They can't go where you're going next. They may be a part of your life for a season, but if that's the mentality that they have and you're trying to grow or you're trying to make changes, that's not your person. But you do need support. You do need people who can inspire you. You've heard me talk about my story with Jenny, and I got to share that from the main stage this a couple weeks ago. But just hearing her success and seeing an ordinary mom doing extraordinary things made my belief go through the roof, because I did see her as an ordinary mom. And I'm like, well, so am I. And if she can do it, so can I. So who can help you? Who do you need to be connected to? Is it time for you to invest in support? Now, you can just get a business bestie. You can get an accountability partner 100%, and you should do those things. But sometimes we get to a level in our life, in our businesses, where we need that additional support. We need the expertise of someone who may be 5 steps ahead of us, 10 steps ahead of us, that can reach back and bring you and show you the way. That could be a coach. That could be a group coaching program. That could be a mastermind. You get to decide what that is. If it is a coach, I think I know someone who might be, hint, hint, wink, wink, here to support you. And I would love to partner with you on that. I've had a coach in my life of some sort for the last 15, 16 years. And I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for people like my business besties and the coaches that I have had in my life to show me my blind spots, to hone my skill sets and my mindsets, and hold me accountable to doing what I said I wanted to do long after the feeling that I set it in has left. Because we've all done that, right? Like you're fired up. Kids are going to be going back to school. You've got these new goals and you're super excited. And then what happens? It starts to fizzle out, right? That excitement starts to fizzle out a little bit. That's where a coach comes in. You start hitting the snooze button instead of getting up to go to the gym. That's where a coach comes in to help you to rewire your brain, to help you to see what your thought patterns are and change them and reframe them to help you to get the desired result that you're looking for. Maybe it is you don't know what your strengths are. You don't know if you're in the right career, or you just you want more, and it's not where you are right now, and you don't know how to get there. I'm telling you right now, the thinking that you're in right now that's creating your results is not the same thinking that's going to help you create new results. That's where a coach comes in to help you to do that. And then the last essential decision, is to practice self-compassion. Like, you have to decide to practice self-compassion, because as you're building a business, as you're building this life, and especially if you're doing it as a solopreneur, it's really easy to be really hard on yourself and to see the areas where you're not growing or you're not accomplishing things. I was just talking to a coaching client about this the other day, and she didn't even see it. She was not able to see that when she came to the call, she was bringing up things she didn't accomplish. Like, it would be one of the first things I remember. Why I didn't do everything that we said for me to do, or I didn't accomplish this. And I've just been reminding her, like, of all the things that she has accomplished. And I asked her, like, how are you showing yourself self-compassion, considering the season that you're in, everything that you're personally going through right now? Like, how can you show yourself some self-compassion? This is not a give yourself all these excuses on why you're not doing what you're doing, but can you have some self-compassion and actually see where you are winning, the things that you are doing well, right? And understanding that, again, fail is first attempt at learning. It's a part of the journey, y'all. It's not the opposite of success. And when you think about, I think I may have said this on the podcast before, but when you think about when your kids, if you're a mama and your kids were walking and they fell when they were learning to walk, did you literally look at them and say, "You're such a loser," or "You messed up so big," or "You'll never learn to walk"? Of course you didn't say that. You picked them back up and you helped them to take a next step. So I want you to think about showing yourself the same self-compassion as you strive to reach your goals, whatever they are, from a personal standpoint or professional standpoint. How can you show yourself so much self-compassion and celebrate the wins that you do have, versus seeing all the things that you didn't accomplish? Giving yourself the opportunity to put in the work to grow and change internally, like deep within your own soul, as much as you do externally, where everyone can applaud your achievements, right? Like, people can see all the things you're doing on the outside, but it's the work you do inside that makes all of that. And one of the things I shared with them, and maybe you know this, but when I was researching for this keynote, because this keynote was all about blooming and growth, and I came across this Instagram reel, and the guy's name is Myron Golden, and he was talking about how trees grow in two directions simultaneously. And I think I kind of knew that, but I didn't know what it was called. And it's called gravitropic and phototropic growth. Had no idea, never heard those words before in my life. And it's just a fancy way of saying that the roots spread just as far and deep under the ground as the canopy of leaves that we see above the ground, right? And he said that this analogy helps us to see that it's the work you do in the dark when it's difficult and damp that makes the work you do that everyone sees in the light work. It's that inner belief work, that self-compassion and resilience that you embrace behind closed doors is what makes everything else work. You see me now, like, as a podcast host, as a coach, as a speaker, and the success that I have, but I can promise you there have been dark, damp moments of resistance that I have had to push down against to be deeply rooted in my success today. And so this inner work, this belief work that you hear me talk about all the time, mindset work you hear me talk about all the time here on the podcast, for a lot of you, and honestly, probably me in the very beginning, like, it just feels fluffy, right? It doesn't feel tangible. It doesn't feel tactical. It doesn't feel like tangible work for us to do, but it is the most important work, because that is what makes everything else work. So don't skip these steps. Don't skip the self-compassion, yada, yada. That's not about goal setting. So I'm just going to skip everything. Don't skip the belief, the first decision, which was believe. You got to believe it. If you don't believe it, you won't see it. And then you won't do it. You got to believe that you can be successful. You got to believe that these changes will work. You got to believe that you can be ready and stay ready, and that you don't have to feel ready to create the desires that you're looking for. So don't skip over those steps just because or those decisions because they feel fluffy or whatever. The last story that I want to end with you is, you've heard me talk about shark's teeth, and I think I might have shared some of this before, but I know I have new people that listen to the podcast all the time. So I'm going to share it again. And maybe if this is the third or fourth time you've heard it, maybe you need to hear it again. So y'all know I live on the coast of South Carolina, and one of my favorite things to do growing up as a little girl was spend time with my dad on the beach, and he would show me how to hunt for shark's teeth. And honestly, to this day, I was just talking about this with one of my clients, because she was telling me she went on vacation and she took a class on how to learn to hunt for shark's teeth. It's one of my favorite things to do when I go to the beach. It's literally like my label free time where I'm not anyone else. I'm just me on the beach looking for shark's teeth. But what you don't know about me maybe is that I literally have horrible vision. Like, honestly, one of the things I was most nervous about for this keynote that I gave was being able to see the prompter and see the words on the prompter. Even though I wrote the content, I knew the content, I was still worried that I would, again, my mind would go blank and I wouldn't be able to see the teleprompter because my vision is that bad. I mean, I wear contacts, but if I didn't have my contacts in, I couldn't see anything. I don't even see the big E on the wall. It's just one big blur. But my husband has 20/20 vision, but I can find the smallest of shark's teeth in the soft sand, but he can't. Why is that? I believe, number one, is that I believe I'll find a shark's tooth every time I go to the beach. I have 100% confidence that I'm going to find a shark's tooth. And so I go in with that belief. The second is I know what I'm looking for. I know the texture, I know the shape, I know the color of the shark's tooth. And I'm zoned in and focused. The third thing is I'm only focused on what I'm looking for. I'm not getting distracted by the seaweed of the shells or the kids playing in the background, or even if you're walking on the beach with me, do not expect me to engage in conversation with you if I'm looking for shark's teeth, because I'm not going to. I'm going to be zoned in and focused on looking for that. And then the last thing is I've decided it's a non-negotiable. I'm going to find one. So I keep going until I do. And my coaching client was saying, it's such a dopamine hit when you find that first one. And it's so true, because it gives you that excitement to go find another one. And my plan may change. And it sometimes does. Sometimes I go down there and I start out by the water where the ocean is bringing in fresh shells. Sometimes I go to the shell beds that are all along the shore. Sometimes I go up to the soft sand. So my plan may change, but I'm going to find a shark's tooth every time. So I just want you to think about that your approach might shift, but the goal never does. And again, every time I find the one, I get super excited. And I can guarantee you, when I first started looking for shark's teeth as a little girl, I didn't find one every time. But that cumulative practice, right? That cumulative of putting in the reps, putting in the work, now I find one every time. So just the same for you. If you're looking for a way that it'll work, you're going to find it. If you're looking for ways to be ready and stay ready, you're going to find it. If you believe that being ready is a decision that you're going to make and not a feeling that you feel, then you're going to show up ready. But if you're looking for a way out, hoping to avoid discomfort, you're going to find that too. So what you focus on, you expand. So I just really felt led to share all of that with you. Number one, so you can understand vulnerability, that, I still to this day don't always feel ready for lots of things, but I decide to be ready because I don't want the feelings to drive my truck. I don't want the feelings to drive my car. They're in the car with me. You can best bet when I walked up on that stage, I was feeling all sorts of feelings, but I didn't allow it to stop me from walking on that stage, because I believe that someone there needed to hear what I had to say. I believed that opportunity was given to me for a reason. I believed that it was a moment for me and for those in the audience. And so what right now are you waiting to feel ready for, that you just need to decide, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to take the first step. Scary, doubtful, anxious, uncomfortable. Because if you're willing to feel anything, you'll be willing to do anything. That's called emotional security. If you're willing to feel like a newbie, if you're willing to feel uncomfortable, if you're willing to feel like, I don't know what in the heck I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway, then you're going to learn, right? Going back to the failed attempt in learning, or first attempt in learning. You're going to learn. You're either going to get the result you want or the lesson you need. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that it inspired and motivated you. I hope that it helps you to question what you're waiting to feel ready on instead of just deciding to be ready. Because remember, being ready isn't a feeling we feel, it's a decision we make. And then I gave you 5 essential decisions to make to help you to move forward in that direction that you want to go. So I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope that back to school goes well, goes smoothly for you. I really hope that you will take the time. Number one, if you need to investigate your why, you go get that guide, that resource. Free clarity calls are always up for you. Go to the show notes. You can send me a DM, you can send me an email, but you are worthy of that 1-hour call to get clarity around where you are, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. And that's what I'm here to do. So go to the show notes and book your free clarity call. Can't wait to connect with you there, and I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.